Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to do something a bit different this afternoon. I'm going to branch away from my two official Alpine and Japan tours in the helicopter, following a request from a fellow UK Fly UK member, William, to perhaps do a tour of the River Thames. But I thought I'd take it a bit further and just do a tour of London itself, visiting the various landmarks that may be familiar to people, but and have a guided tour with the help of the bush radio. Well, we haven't got bush radio in all the items, but where there isn't, I'll try and point them out from the map anyway. So we're sat here at the GA apron on London City. I haven't got the Orbex London City Airport, but I have got the Orbex landmarks, London landmarks scenery. So we've got the Excel Centre here that was used as a COVID ward during the height of last year. So our first port of call actually is to fly across from London City down to Greenwich Park and visit the Royal Observatory. So then we'll see how we get on. So something a bit different. So I'll get rid of me, so you get better views, and we'll jump in the helicopter and get her started up. First thing to do is shut the doors, get it a bit quieter, flick it into, get the engine started up. Don't have to bother about Skytrack with this one, as it's not an official tour. I'll try and keep it low and slow if I can, apart from any long distance bits, and we'll see how we get on. I've got Maria again with me, or Marie, I can't remember. She wants to have a look around London. So I think we can get the other one up into idle as well. Oops, didn't mean to put it all the way up. I probably won't need the autopilot. I'll flick them on just in case I do on the way back. Oh, I haven't got the sound on, hang on. Sorry about that, I had the sound turned off. Okay, right, let's get some avionics on. Forward and aft pumps, prime pumps off. Position lights on, strobe lights on, landing lights on. Pitot heat on. That should be about it. Okay, let's see if we can get her into flight mode. Clear behind. Oh, we've got an easterly wind, I think. Oh no, I haven't changed the wind. I haven't got live weather on because 2020 shows it too overcast, so So I've just put a few clouds, which is a bit more brightness that we have here today in the southeast. So, okay, let's see if we can get ourselves off the ground. We'll head back a little bit. Forward across to the runway. We'll take off to the east. I won't follow the taxiway exactly, we'll just go along here. Okay, let's take off towards the east into the wind. Try and keep it on the runway. Turn my sound down a bit so I don't pick up too much in the microphone. A bit of inertia going on. Clear the houses. Okay, so we're going to head off to the southwest. Unfortunately, because I haven't got the Orbex London City scenery, it's actually on sale at the moment. It doesn't show the Tate & Lyle sugar factory on the side of the airport, but so we're going to fly over. So we've got the London Thames barrier in front of us here. What I'm going to do is just take a quick screenshot. From my video opener. So we have the London Thames barrier, and fly across here to Greenwich Park. Slow down a bit. Flying over Greenwich Park here.
The Royal Observatory, Greenwich, is an observatory situated on a hill in Greenwich Park in East London, overlooking the River Thames to the north. It played a major role in the history of astronomy and navigation, and because the prime meridian passes through it, it gave its name to Greenwich Mean Time, the precursor to today's Coordinated Universal Time. The observatory was commissioned in 1675 by King Charles II, with the foundation stone being laid on the 10th of August. The site was chosen by Sir Christopher Wren. At that time the king also created the position of Astronomer Royal, to serve as the director of the observatory and to apply himself with the most exact care and diligence to the rectifying of the tables of the motions of the heavens and the places of the fixed stars, so as to find out the so much desired longitude of places for the perfecting of the art of navigation. He appointed John Flamsteed as the first Astronomer Royal. The building was completed in the summer of 1676. The building was often called Flamsteed House, in reference to its first occupant. The scientific work of the observatory was relocated elsewhere in stages in the first half of the 20th century, and the Greenwich site is now maintained almost exclusively as a museum, although the AMET telescope became operational for astronomical research in 2018. There had been significant buildings on this land since the reign of William I. Greenwich Palace, on the site of the present-day Maritime Museum, was the birthplace of both Henry VIII and his daughters Mary I and Elizabeth I. The Tudors used Greenwich Castle, which stood on the hilltop that the observatory presently occupies, as a hunting lodge. Greenwich Castle was reportedly a favourite place for Henry VIII to house his mistresses, so that he could easily travel from the palace to see them. British astronomers have long used the Royal Observatory as a basis for measurement. 4 separate meridians have passed through the buildings, defined by successive instruments. The basis of longitude, the meridian that passes through the Airy Transit Circle, first used in 1851, was adopted as the world's prime meridian at the International Meridian Conference at Washington, D.C., on the 22nd of October 1884. Subsequently, nations across the world used it as their standard for mapping and timekeeping. Greenwich Mean Time was until 1954 based on celestial observations made at Greenwich, and later on observations made at other observatories. GMT was formally renamed as Universal Time in 1935, but is still commonly referred to as GMT. It is now calculated from observations of extragalactic radio sources. The observatory is noted as the home of the Prime Meridian and Greenwich Mean Time.
And this down below here is the old Naval College. Here's the old Naval College. It's now a Maritime Museum. Okay, so let's from here we'll head off to somewhere that I'm sure everybody knows, the Millennium Dome. See what Bush Radio has to say about that. She does go on a bit, I know, but I thought it would be fairly helpful to have a bit of the history of these places. Although the Millennium Dome's not that old, of course. There's a they call it cable car that runs across the
O2 is a large entertainment district on the Greenwich Peninsula in south-east London, England, including an indoor arena, a music club, a Cineworld cinema, an exhibition space, piazzas, bars, and restaurants. It was built largely within the former Millennium Dome, a large dome-shaped canopy built to house an exhibition celebrating the turn of the third millennium. Consequently, the dome remains a name in common usage for the venue. It is sometimes referred to as the O2 Arena, but that name properly refers to an indoor arena within the O2. Naming rights to the district were purchased by the mobile telephone provider O2 from its developers, Anschutz Entertainment Group, during the development of the district. IG owns the long-term lease on the O2 Arena and surrounding leisure space. From the closure of the original Millennium Experience exhibition occupying the site, several ways of reusing the Millennium Dome's shell were proposed and then rejected. The renaming of the dome in 2005 gave publicity to its transition into an entertainment district. The dome's shell remained in situ, but its interior and the area around North Greenwich Station, the QE2 pier and the main entrance area were completely redeveloped. The area is served by the Jubilee Line's North Greenwich Tube Station, which was opened just before the Millennium Exhibition, and by bus routes. Thames Clippers operate a riverboat service for London River Services. The present tenants, Hyde, purchased Thames Clippers in order to provide river links between central London and the O2. As well as a commuter service, Thames Clippers operates the O2 Express service. Local buses also serve the station and the nearby O2. On the 23rd of February 2017, O2 announced that they had agreed to a deal with Hyde to maintain the naming rights of the O2 for a further 10 years until 2027.
Okay, so from here we'll try and get a bit of momentum up in a minute. We'll head on over to the city.
Canada Square is a skyscraper in Canary Wharf, London. The building serves as the global headquarters of the HSBC Group. Having been commissioned by the owners of the Canary Wharf site to do the outline design prior to gaining site-wide outline planning permission, and because he had designed HSBC's last head office at 1 Queen's Road, Central, Hong Kong Island, Hong Kong, Sir Norman Foster was appointed as architect. Construction began in January 1999, with work beginning on the installation of the 4,900 glass panels commencing in the summer of 2000. The work was carried out by Canary Wharf contractors. In May 2000, 3 workmen were killed in a crane accident. The topping out ceremony took place on the 7th of March 2001, with the hoisting in of the final steel girder attended by bankers, journalists, and contractors. The first HSBC employees began work in the building on the 2nd of September 2002, with phased occupation completed by the 17th of February 2003, and the building's official opening, by Sir John Bond, taking place on the 2nd of April 2003.
That's the main financial district of London now, the city. Well, it's not the old city, it's the Barbican city, I think they call it, around this area. So we'll head off now to along the river to Tower Bridge. I'll find my way. Oh, yeah, it's round here, sorry. Got quite a few things coming up here now. Tower Bridge and the Shard, and then this is the actual city of London here. Quite a few different buildings there. We'll try and see what she can tell us about them. This is London Street Station here. Recently been
Tower Bridge is a combined
refurbished.
bascule and suspension bridge in London, built between 1886 and 1894. The bridge crosses the River Thames close to the Tower of London and has become a world-famous symbol of London. As a result, it is sometimes confused with London Bridge, about half a mile upstream. Tower Bridge is one of 5 London bridges owned and maintained by the Bridge House Estates, a charitable trust overseen by the City of London Corporation. It is the only one of the Trust's bridges not to connect the City of London directly to the Southwark Bank, as its northern landfall is in Tower Hamlets. The bridge consists of 2 bridge towers tied together at the upper level by 2 horizontal walkways, designed to withstand the horizontal tension forces imposed by the suspended sections of the bridge on the landward sides of the towers. The vertical components of the forces in the suspended sections and the vertical reactions of the 2 walkways are carried by the 2 robust towers. The bascule pivots and operating machinery are housed in the base of each tower. The bridge deck is freely accessible to both vehicles and pedestrians, whereas the bridge's twin towers, high-level walkways and Victorian engine rooms form part of the Tower Bridge exhibition, for which an admission charge is made. The nearest London Underground tube stations are Tower Hill on the Circle and District lines, London Bridge on the Jubilee and Northern lines and Bermondsey on the Jubilee line, and the nearest Docklands Light Railway station is Tower Gateway. The nearest National Rail stations are at Fenchurch Street and London Bridge.
This is the Docklands area down here, they call it. Old warehouses that have been converted into apartments and things. Quite a posh maritime marina there now. And obviously here's the Tower Bridge, Tower of London. We should get a description of the Tower of London, but I'll see if I can fly over it or hover over it. Giving us anything, is she?
22 Bishopsgate, also known as 22, is a commercial skyscraper under construction in London, United Kingdom. It occupies a prominent site in Bishopsgate, in the City of London financial district, and is set to stand 278 metres tall with 62 stories. The project replaces an earlier plan for a 288 metres tower named the Pinnacle, on which construction was started in 2008 but suspended in 2012 following the Great Recession, with only the concrete core of the first 7 stories. The structure was later subjected to a redesign, out of which it became known by its postal address, 22 Bishopsgate. Under the original plans, the Pinnacle was to become the second tallest building in both the United Kingdom and the European Union after the Shard, also in London. The Economic Development Corporation of Saudi Arabia and its development manager, Arab Investments, which largely funded the construction in return for a majority stake in the structure. However, the build was put on hold due to a lack of additional funding and letting commitments. In 2013, it was reported that a review of the design and construction process, undertaken by original architects Cohn Pedersen Fox, agent CBRE and the developers, had been completed, with the building's helter-skelter style exterior set to be retained. In 2015, the site was sold to a consortium led by AXA Real Estate, and a redesign with a simpler exterior, ultimately excluding the costly helter-skelter shape, was submitted for public consultation before application for planning permission. In April 2016, it was confirmed that property company Lipton Rogers and its joint venture partner, AXA in Real Assets, would complete the £1 billion development in 2019. At 278 metres, the building was set to be the tallest in the City of London at that time, and, due to potential loss of light to surrounding buildings, there had been objections to the development from several parties. However, City of London granted permission after considering the potential benefits of developing the building, including the introduction of more floor space to the area and the creation of new jobs. In 2017, plans were approved which redesigned the building and reduced its height further to 255 metres due to concerns that the cranes used for its construction could interfere with the flight paths of the nearby London City Airport. However, these plans were withdrawn after approval was granted for the previous 278-metre design.
Well, I was trying to see if I could pick up the information that they have on Bush Radio about the Tower of London, but maybe I can just click it. That might be easiest, mightn't it? Hang on a second. The Tower of London is that it?
The Tower of London, officially Her Majesty's Royal Palace and Fortress of the Tower of London, is a historic castle on the north bank of the River Thames in central London. It lies within the London Borough of Tower Hamlets, which is separated from the eastern edge of the square mile of the City of London by the open space known as Tower Hill. It was founded towards the end of 1066 as part of the Norman conquest of England. The White Tower, which gives the entire castle its name, was built by William the Conqueror in 1078 and was a resented symbol of oppression inflicted upon London by the new ruling elite. The castle was also used as a prison from 1100 until 1952, although that was not its primary purpose. A grand palace early in its history, it served as a royal residence. As a whole, the tower is a complex of several buildings set within two concentric rings of defensive walls and a moat. There were several phases of expansion, mainly under Kings Richard I, Henry III, and Edward I in the 12th and 13th centuries. The general layout established by the late 13th century remains despite later activity on the site. The Tower of London has played a prominent role in English history. It was besieged several times, and controlling it has been important to controlling the country. The tower has served variously as an armory, a treasury, a menagerie, the home of the Royal Mint, a public record office, and the home of the crown jewels of England. From the early 14th century until the reign of Charles II, a procession would be led from the tower to Westminster Abbey on the coronation of a monarch. In the absence of the monarch, the constable of the tower is in charge of the castle. This was a powerful and trusted position in the medieval period. In the late 15th century, the castle was the prison of the princes in the tower. Under the Tudors, the tower became used less as a royal residence, and despite attempts to refortify and repair the castle, its defences lagged behind developments to deal with artillery. The peak period of the castle's use as a prison was the 16th and 17th centuries, when many figures who had fallen into disgrace, such as Elizabeth I before she became Queen, Sir Walter Raleigh, and Elizabeth Throckmorton, were held within its walls. This use has led to the phrase sent to the tower. Despite its enduring reputation as a place of torture and death, popularized by 16th century religious propagandists and 19th century writers, only 7 people were executed within the tower before the world wars of the 20th century.
And down below here is HMS Belfast, which is, I'm not sure if it's a destroyer, I don't know, frigate, or I'm not sure of the military term for the actual aircraft, but it's now a floating museum, effectively a floating museum people can pay to visit. Right, so we'll nip across and see what she has to say about the Shard over London Bridge Station there. If I can get us moving a little bit. Never been up the top of the Shard. My daughter has. But, oops. I don't want to. I'm not sure where it is. Hang on. Oh, behind my window, I think, isn't it? I hope. Am I on top of it? Oh, it's over to the left. Okay.
Strata SE1, nicknamed Razor or Electric Razor, is a 148-metre, 43-storey building at Elephant and Castle.
Oh, that's not the Shard. Let me tick off the Shard. Can't find it on here.
The Shard, also referred to as the Shard of Glass, Shard London Bridge and formerly London Bridge Tower, is a 72-storey skyscraper, designed by the Italian architect Renzo Piano, in Southwark, London, that forms part of the Shard Quarter development. Standing 309.6 metres high, the Shard is the tallest building in the United Kingdom and the sixth tallest building in Europe. It is also the second tallest freestanding structure in the United Kingdom, after the concrete tower of the Emily Moore transmitting station. It replaced Southwark Towers, a 24-storey office block built on the site in 1975. The Shard's construction began in March 2009. It was topped out on the 30th of March 2012 and inaugurated on the 5th of July 2012. Practical completion was achieved in November 2012. The tower's privately operated observation deck, the view from the Shard, was opened to the public on the 1st of February 2013. The glass-clad pyramidal tower has 72 habitable floors, with a viewing gallery and open-air observation deck on the 72nd floor, at a height of 244 metres. The Shard was developed by Seller Property Group on behalf of LBQ Limited and is jointly owned by Seller Property and the State of Qatar. The Shard is managed by Real Estate Management Limited on behalf of the owners.
Okay, next stop is, I think, I'll go over to
the
St.
Millennium
Paul's.
Bridge, officially known as the London Millennium Footbridge, is a steel suspension bridge for pedestrians crossing the River Thames in London, linking Bankside with the City of London. It is owned and maintained by Bridge House Estates, a charitable trust overseen by the City of London Corporation. Construction began in 1998, and it initially opened in June 2000. Londoners nicknamed it the Wobbly Bridge after pedestrians experienced an alarming swaying motion on its opening day. The bridge was closed later that day and, after 2 days of limited access, it was closed again for almost 2 years so that modifications and repairs could be made to keep the bridge stable and stop the swaying motion. It reopened in February 2002. The bridge is located between Southwark Bridge and Blackfriars Railway Bridge. Its southern end is near the Globe Theatre, the Bankside Gallery, and Tate Modern, while its northern end is next to the City of London School below St. Paul's Cathedral. The bridge's alignment is such that a clear view of St. Paul's south facade is presented from across the river, framed by the bridge supports.
Oops. So I'm trying to do several things here at the same time, but I can't seem to get. I wanted to get a description about St. Paul's, but I can't find it at the moment. Oh, there we go. I'll come back round.
St. Paul's Cathedral is an Anglican cathedral in London, United Kingdom, which, as the Cathedral of the Bishop of London, serves as the mother church of the Diocese of London. It sits on Ludgate Hill at the highest point of the City of London and is a Grade I list.
Oops. There. I thought I would have said more about it than that.
Building. Its dedication to Paul the Apostle dates back to the original church on this site, founded in AD 604. The present cathedral, dating from the late 17th century, was designed in the English Baroque style by Sir Christopher Wren. Its construction, completed in Wren's lifetime, was part of a major rebuilding programme in the city after the Great Fire of London. The earlier Gothic cathedral building was largely destroyed in the Great Fire, and is now often referred to as Old St. Paul's Cathedral, and was a central focus for medieval and early modern London, including Paul's Walk and St. Paul's Churchyard being the site of St. Paul's Cross. The cathedral is one of the most famous and most recognisable sights of London. Its dome, framed by the spires of Wren's city churches, has dominated the skyline for over 300 years. At 365 feet high, it was the tallest building in London from 1710 to 1963. The dome remains among the highest in the world. St. Paul's is the second largest church building in area in the United Kingdom after Liverpool Cathedral. Services held at St. Paul's have included the funerals of Admiral Nelson, the Duke of Wellington, Winston Churchill and Margaret Thatcher, Jubilee celebrations for Queen Victoria, peace services marking the end of the First and Second World Wars, the wedding of Prince Charles and Lady Diana Spencer, the launch of the Festival of Britain, and the Thanksgiving services for the Silver, Golden and Diamond Jubilees and the 80th and 90th birthdays of Queen Elizabeth II. St. Paul's Cathedral is the central subject of much promotional material, as well as of images of the dome surrounded by the smoke and fire of the Blitz. The cathedral is a working church with hourly prayer and daily services. The tourist entry fee at the door is £20 for adults, but no charge is made to worshippers attending advertised services.
Okay, now we'll head around the dome and back along the river for a bit. Blackfriars Bridge. And as we come along here, that's the London Television building.
Waterloo Bridge is a road and foot traffic bridge crossing the River Thames in London, between Blackfriars Bridge and Hungerford Bridge. Its name commemorates the victory of the British, Dutch and Prussians at the Battle of Waterloo in 1815. Thanks to its location at a strategic bend in the river, the views from the bridge are widely held to be the finest from any spot in London at ground level. The first bridge on the site was designed in 1807-10 by John Rennie for the Strand Bridge of Life and opened in 1817 as a toll bridge. The granite bridge had 9 arches, each of 120 feet span. St. James's Palace is the most senior royal palace in the United Kingdom. Located in the city of Westminster, although no longer the principal residence of the monarch, it is the ceremonial meeting place of the Accession Council and the London residence of several minor members of the royal family. Built by order of Henry VIII in the 1530s on the site of a leper hospital dedicated to St. James the Less, the palace was secondary in importance to the Palace of Whitehall for most Tudor and Stuart monarchs. The palace increased in importance during the reigns of the early Georgian monarchy, but was displaced by Buckingham Palace in the late 18th and early 19th centuries. After decades of being used increasingly for only formal occasions, the move was formalized by Queen Victoria in 1837. Today the palace houses a number of official offices, societies and collections, and all ambassadors and high commissioners to the United Kingdom are still accredited to the court of St. James's. The palace's Chapel Royal is still used for functions of the British royal family.
So I wasn't sure, that came up automatically and we weren't actually over it at the time. This is Waterloo Railway Bridge and Waterloo Station, and these are the walkways either side that she was describing. I wanted to hover here for a bit. We've got the London South Bank here, which is a festival auditorium, events and things. And I wanted to point out here, this is the Shell Tower, where I worked for about 37 years, the London Eye, and this is the, along here is the, what do they call it, a tower? Oh, I can't think what it's called now. Come on, Stuart, don't be silly. dear. It's the sort of headquarters of the London Borough, I think, or at least it used to be. It's not anymore. What do they call it? Town Hall, sort of town hall. It's not listed on my thing, so let's see if we can get a bit lower. And down below us,
Lambeth Bridge is a road traffic and footbridge crossing the River Thames in an east-west direction in central London. The river flows north at the crossing point. Downstream, the next bridge is Westminster Bridge. Upstream, the next bridge is Vauxhall Bridge. The most conspicuous colour in the bridge's paint scheme is red, the same colour as the leather benches in the House of Lords, which is at the southern end of the Palace of Westminster nearest the bridge. This is in contrast to Westminster Bridge, which is predominantly green, the same colour as the benches in the House of Commons at the northern end of the Houses of Parliament. On the east side, in Lambeth, are Lambeth Palace, the Albert Embankment, St Thomas Hospital, and the International Maritime Organisation. On the west side, in Westminster, are Thames House, behind which is Horseferry House, and Cleland House and Abel House, and the Millbank Tower and Tate Britain. The Palace of Westminster is a short walk downstream to the north through the Victoria Tower Garden.
I would have thought she would have described Big Ben, but Houses of Parliament. That's St Thomas's Hospital there, and I think this is the Lambeth Palace along here that she was talking about. So let's see if we can say something about. I'm trying to negotiate forward a bit. I wanted to tell us about the House of Parliament.
Big Ben is the nickname for the Great Bell, the striking clock at the north end of the Palace of Westminster in London. The name is frequently extended to refer to both the clock and the clock tower. The official name of the tower in which Big Ben is located was originally the Clock Tower. It was renamed Elizabeth Tower in 2012 to mark the Diamond Jubilee of Elizabeth II, Queen of the United Kingdom. The tower was designed by Augustus Pugin in a neo-Gothic style. When completed in 1859, its clock was the largest and most accurate four-faced striking and chiming clock in the world. The tower stands 315 feet tall, and the climb from ground level to the belfry is 334 steps. Its base is square, measuring 39 feet on each side. Dials of the clock are 23 feet in diameter. On the 31st of May 2009, celebrations were held to mark the tower's 150th anniversary. Big Ben is the largest of the tower's 5 bells and weighs 13.5 long tons. It was the largest bell in the United Kingdom for 23 years. The origin of the bell's nickname is open to question. It may be named after Sir Benjamin Hall, who oversaw its installation, or heavyweight boxing champion Benjamin Count. 4-quarter bells chime at 15, 30 and 45 minutes past the hour and just before Big Ben tolls on the hour. The clock uses its original Victorian mechanism, but an electric motor can be used as a backup. The tower is a British cultural icon recognized all over the world. It is one of the most prominent symbols of the United Kingdom and parliamentary democracy, and it is often used in the establishing shot of films set in London. The clock tower has been part of a Grade I listed building since 1970 and a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 1987. On the 21st of August 2017, a 4-year schedule of renovation works began on the tower, which are to include the addition of a lift. There are also plans to reglaze and repaint the clock dials. With a few exceptions, such as New Year's Eve and Remembrance Sunday, the bells are to be silent until the work is completed in 2021.
And the other building there, I think, is
Westminster Abbey, formerly titled the Collegiate Church of St. Peter at Westminster, is a large, mainly Gothic abbey church in the city of Westminster, London, England, just to the west of the Palace of Westminster. It is one of the United Kingdom's most notable religious buildings and the traditional place of coronation and burial site for English and, later, British monarchs. The building itself was a Benedictine monastic church until the monastery was dissolved in 1539. Between 1540 and 1556, the abbey had the status of a cathedral. Since 1560, the building is no longer an abbey or a cathedral, having instead the status of a Church of England Royal Peculiar, a church responsible directly to the sovereign. According to a tradition first reported by Sulcard in about 1080, a church was founded at the site in the 7th century, at the time of Mellitus, a bishop of London. Construction of the present church began in 1245, on the orders of King Henry III. Since the coronation of William the Conqueror in 1066, all coronations of English and British monarchs have been in Westminster Abbey. There have been 16 royal weddings at the Abbey since 1100. As the burial site of more than 3,300 persons, usually of prominence in British history, Westminster Abbey is sometimes described as Britain's Valhalla, after the iconic hall of the chosen heroes in Norse mythology.
okay. Right, I'm going to go along the river first, then we'll come back to Buck House, as it's commonly known. So I'll swing around this way a bit. I'm getting higher and higher here. So that was Lambeth Bridge there. I'm not sure what other descriptions we've got along here. We've got Battersea Bridge, which is coming up, and Battersea Power Station, which is now a exhibition centre.
Grosvenor Bridge, originally known as, and alternatively called Victoria Railway Bridge, is a railway bridge over the River Thames in London, between Vauxhall Bridge and Chelsea Bridge. Originally constructed in 1860 and widened in 1865 and 1907, the bridge was extensively rebuilt and widened again in the 1960s as an array of 10 parallel bridges. The original bridge was constructed in the mid-19th century in 2 stages. The first bridge was built by the Victoria Station and Pimlico Railway between 1859 and 1860 at a cost of £84,000 to carry 2 tracks into Victoria Station. It was the first railway bridge across the Thames in central London. The engineer was Sir John Fowler.
So Battersea Power Station is actually now I think it's like an exhibition hall and gallery and etc. And obviously there's new apartments and things. This area used to all be, well, it used to be a power station in the old days. I haven't got any descriptions about it. I need to sort my flying out here. Sorry if this is making you a bit giddy. I just want to run down here somewhere for some reason. What was that? Oh no, Battersea Bridge. All right, so there's a few more bridges, but I don't think Wandsworth Bridge. But they're just bridges. And right, so we'll head around. For some reason, my map is completely out.
Albert Bridge is a road bridge over the tideway of the River Thames connecting Chelsea and central London on the north, left bank to Battersea on the south. Designed and built by Roland Mason Ordish in...
I don't want that. Okay, let's head back to Buckingham Palace and the Mall.
Buckingham Palace is the London residence and administrative headquarters of the monarch of the United Kingdom. Located in the city of Westminster, the palace is often at the centre of state occasions and royal hospitality. It has been a focal point for the British people at times of national rejoicing and mourning. Originally known as Buckingham House, the building at the core of today's palace was a large townhouse built for the Duke of Buckingham in 1703 on a site that had been in private ownership for at least 150 years. It was acquired by King George III in 1761 as a private residence for Queen Charlotte and became known as the Queen's House. During the 19th century it was enlarged, principally by architects John Nash and Edward Blore, who constructed 3 wings around a central courtyard. Buckingham Palace became the London residence of the British monarch on the accession of Queen Victoria in 1837. The last major structural additions were made in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, including the east front, which contains the well-known balcony on which the royal family traditionally congregates to greet crowds. A German bomb destroyed the palace chapel during World War II. The Queen's Gallery was built on the site and opened to the public in 1962 to exhibit works of art from the royal collection. The original early 19th century interior designs, many of which survive, include widespread use of brightly coloured scagliola and blue and pink lapis, on the advice of Sir Charles Long. King Edward VII oversaw a partial redecoration in a Belle Epoque cream and gold colour scheme. Many smaller reception rooms are furnished in the Chinese Regency style, with furniture and fittings brought from the Royal Pavilion at Brighton and from Carlton House. The palace has 775 rooms, and the garden is the largest private garden in London. The state rooms, used for official and state entertaining, are open to the public each year for most of August and September and on some days in winter and spring.
This is St James's Park here. St James's Palace that she was mentioning was somewhere along here, over here somewhere, and this is Admiralty Arch and Nelson's Column, which I don't think I've got a description of, but we can hover over, have a look at Nelson's Column. Don't know if it's got Nelson on the top of it. So this is Trafalgar Square, and where the lions are. And Nelson's Column, that's the National Gallery, I think. So there's Admiralty Arch, and this is there's Nelson sat on the top, look. And there's some big lions usually on the corners here. That's the National Gallery. I'm not sure what that church is. Okay, so my map is completely out, unfortunately. So. Right, so we're going to head back down across the palace. If I can find it. Oh, there we are. And then we're going to head northwestwards. So that's the front of the palace, which is often the view that is seen on news reports and other things. Can't see any flags flying, so I don't know if she's in residence. And this is where they do the changing of the guard down here. One of those ceremonies done most days. Right, so we're going to fly up over to Hyde Park. So this is a Serpentine, and this is Hyde Park here. I don't know whether there's an arch somewhere. I don't know which end of Hyde Park it is. It might be there, possibly. This is a serpentine, as they call it. I think it's because it's shaped like a serpent snake.
Hyde Park is a Grade I listed major park in central London. It is the largest of 4 royal parks that form a chain from the entrance of Kensington Palace through Kensington Gardens and Hyde Park, via Hyde Park Corner and Green Park past the main entrance to Buckingham Palace. The park is divided by the Serpentine and the Long Water Lakes. The park was established by Henry VIII in 1536 when he took the land from Westminster Abbey and used it as a hunting ground. It opened to the public in 1637 and quickly became popular, particularly for May Day parades. Major improvements occurred in the early 18th century under the direction of Queen Caroline. Several duels took place in Hyde Park during this time, often involving members of the nobility. The Great Exhibition of 1851 was held in the park, for which the Crystal Palace, designed by Joseph Paxton, was erected. Free speech and demonstrations have been a key feature of Hyde Park since the 19th century. Speaker's Corner has been established as a point of free speech and debate since 1872, while the Chartists, the Reform League, the Suffragettes, and the Stop the War Coalition have all held protests there. In the late 20th century, the park was known for holding large-scale free rock music concerts, featuring groups such as Pink Floyd, the Rolling Stones, and Queen. Major events in the park have continued into the 21st century, such as Live 8 in 2005, and the annual Hyde Park Winter Wonderland from 2007.
I think she meant Live Aid. I actually went with my family and saw so one of the rock concerts there, and saw the Who was it Who? Yeah, the Who were top of the bill, but also on the bill was Bob Dylan. I remember my son saying, "When's the old guy coming on?" Because he was getting on in years then. Right, so we're going to head up. I don't know if they've got Lord's Cricket Ground marked. See if we can find Lord's Cricket Ground. Is that it down below there? I think that's it there, isn't it?
The Sherlock Holmes Museum is a popular privately run museum in London, dedicated...
Can't see that anyway. So there's Lord's Cricket Ground down below us here.
Lord's Cricket Ground, commonly known as Lord's, is a cricket venue in St John's Wood, London. Named after its founder, Thomas Lord, it is owned by Marylebone Cricket Club and is the home of Middlesex County Cricket Club, the England and Wales Cricket Board, the European Cricket Council and, until August 2005, the International Cricket Council. Lord's is widely referred to as the home of cricket and is home to the world's oldest sporting museum. Lord's today is not on its original site. It is the third of 3 grounds that Lord established between 1787 and 1814. His first ground, now referred to as Lord's Old Ground, was where Dorset Square now stands. His second ground, Lord's Middle Ground, was used from 1811 to 1813 before being abandoned to make way for the construction through its outfield of the Regent's Canal. The present Lord's Ground is about 250 yards northwest of the site of the Middle Ground. The ground...
I think we heard enough about Lord's. I think this must have been taken when these were under construction, because these are like space age hospitality things that are like domes. So this is Regent's Park, which I don't think we have any details of. And here is the British Telecoms Tower, BT Tower, which at one time was, I think, one of the tallest buildings in London. Not sure when it was constructed. We might find out in a minute. Tell us, or let's see if I can find it. Oops. Can't do two things at once.
The BT Tower is a communications tower located in Fitzrovia, London, owned by BT Group. It has been previously known as the GPO Tower, the Post Office Tower and the Telecom Tower. The main structure is 177 metres high, with a further section of aerial rigging bringing the total height to 189 metres. Upon completion in 1964, it overtook the Millbank Tower to become the tallest building in both London and the United Kingdom, titles that it held until 1980, when it in turn was overtaken by the NatWest Tower. In the 21st century, the tower is still in use and is the site of a major UK communications hub. Microwave links have been replaced by subterranean optical fibre links for most mainstream purposes, but the former are still in use at the tower. The second floor of the base of the tower contains the TV network switching centre, which carries broadcasting traffic and relays signals between television broadcasters, production companies, advertisers, international satellite services and uplink companies.
There we go. Right, I'm going to head, before we head back to London City Airport, I'm going to head out north eastwards and see if I can find the Emirates Stadium, which I believe is where Arsenal play. I don't know, it should be a World Update 3 construction building. I can't actually see it at the moment. Oh, yes I can. It's over here, look. So we'll fly over there. So I hope you've been able to hear stuff. I just noticed my my helicopter sound was rather loud, so I apologise if you haven't been able to hear stuff. I'm not going to go over it again. I'm not going to fly over the places again. You would have seen the videos, but you might not have heard the commentary. I didn't realise it was that loud on the stream. I've turned it down now, so hopefully will be better. Yeah, it's the Gunners. It's Arsenal's stadium.
The Emirates Stadium is a football stadium in Holloway, London, England, and the home of Arsenal. With a capacity of 60,704, it is the fourth largest football stadium in England after Wembley Stadium, Old Trafford, and Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. In 1997, Arsenal explored the possibility of relocating to a new stadium, having been denied planning permission by Islington Council to expand its home stadium, Highbury. After considering various options, the club bought an industrial and waste disposal estate in Ashburton Grove in 2000. A year later, they received the council's approval to build a stadium on the site. Manager Arsene Wenger described this as the biggest decision in Arsenal's history since the board appointed Herbert Chapman. Relocation began in 2002, but financial difficulties delayed work until February 2004. Emirates was later announced as the main sponsor for the stadium. The entire stadium project was completed in 2006 at a cost of £390 million. The club's former stadium was redeveloped as Highbury Square, an apartment complex. The stadium has undergone a process of Arsenalisation since 2009 with the aim of restoring Arsenal's heritage and history. The stadium has hosted international fixtures and music concerts.
Yeah, I'm not sure where. I'm not going all the way over to Tottenham's ground, and Wembley is somewhere around. But I'm going to leave it there because it was mainly the London centre area of London that William was interested in. Right, so I think we'll head back now across London to London City, if I can get us going forwards, that is. And then I've got, oh, what's that? Oh yeah, we'll head over there. That's, I think it's Victoria Park, I think, unless that's Wembley. Is that Wembley? No, that's the, Victoria Park is where the Olympics were held in 2012. I think that's the main stadium there, which is actually, I believe, now West Ham's football ground. Strangely enough, I haven't got anything on Bush Radio about this area. But you can see some of the, can't find my mouse, some of the buildings here that were related. That might be the velodrome, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what this one is either. But this was the main stadium, which, as I say, I think is now, although I don't know what it shows in the, if there's any depth to it. West Ham, yeah, it's West Ham have taken it over. So it's now West Ham's football ground. But it was where the Olympics were held. Alright, so we'll fly back over here to London City. I'm sure if there's no traffic coming in, helicopters can cut across this way. I have to mind the what do they call it? Cable car. Although I think that's here. Yeah, it comes across here, so that's all right. I didn't bother purchasing Orbex's London City, because I don't fly from here very often, and we don't have the, for Fly UK, we usually fly Dash 8s and ATRs, and there isn't a decent Dash 8 for 2020 yet. But this is an add-on because it actually includes the extended apron area, which is now part of, is on the Navigraph charts. So I thought it would be better to so I might see if I can put it down over there. There's a lot of room although I'm a bit high at the moment. So let me see if I can get down. I'm going to end up in the water at this rate. Very tricky. I shouldn't be still descending, really, but I am, which is a bit worrying. I went up to 61 or whatever, thrust, torque. Doesn't seem, it's held in level, but I want it to move forward, really. A bit better. I'm going to put it down. I want to move forward slowly. That's better. But I might put it down here actually in a minute. If I can move forward just slightly and bring it round here. That's not too bad. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little tour of London. It's just a one-off, just for a change, do something a bit different. So we'll shut the helicopter down. So open some doors, have some air in. And well, thanks for watching, and hope you join the tours, the official tours of the Alps and Japan that I'll be doing probably in the next couple of days. Be continuing those. So I'll say cheerio for now, and thanks again for watching, and I'll just leave the end credits up while I close things down. So thanks again, and see you soon.